no tell. It's like we want the same things, but the lines we've drawn are too parallel. I can't sleep when you're not talking to me. Got me suffering in silence, can't breathe when you're not here. I know that you feel some type of way, girl.
Hello, fellow humans. It is your crafty bookworm of a witch, Destiny. On this channel, I review anything that is in book form. And for this second video, I'm going to take a little bit of a break from Ellie's Ruthless series and go into something short, nice, easy book, and also a little bit queer, because I'm on the queer side. This book is Even Though I Knew the End by L Polk. I only have one warning for you this week. There will be spoilers. So if you don't want to get spoiled, then click off this video. And I would suggest that because this is actually a pretty darn good book, even though it's a short read. Or if you don't care and just like to listen to something in the background, well, that's your choice, and you are perfectly welcome here. So kick back, relax, and watch as I draw some fan art from this book. Even Though I Knew the End is about a spellcaster named Helen in the 1940s, set on a case that takes her down a very dangerous path. But she needs this job in order for her and her lover, Edith, to move out of Chicago and live a life. The book is set up in acts and its own subchapters, and this time I actually made sure to summarize along with taking notes. Last time I forgot to make sure to summarize alongside my notes, and of course things got a bit hazy. Though the reviewing although it's kind of a bit of a process here. I am just starting out as a YouTuber, so bear with me, everybody, on my YouTube journey. Act 1, Chapter 1. Our main character, Helen Brandt, is investigating a murder by the White City Vampire as a warlock, when her brother and his business partner come into the scene, like the murder scene, also wanting to investigate for the Brotherhood of the High Compass and have her leave the alleyway, as she is a lowly warlock. Right off the bat, cool crime drama fantasy. I'm all in, man. And so far, they're explaining the mechanics of this world and the magic without over-explaining. And it actually, in some ways, so far this book reminds me of one of my favorite series. A favorite series of mine, The Dresden Files, which I will probably do a review of at some point. The dynamic between her brother, who she hasn't seen in nearly 10 years, is just heartbreaking. Helen obviously did something really bad to make her brother not want to be a part of her life anymore. And I can't wait to see how they repair it, hopefully. Although not all relationships can be repaired. And sometimes it's just good to cut ties. But that's, of course, just my opinion. whether or not they're family. Chapter 2, Helen puzzles over running into her brother and develops the photos she took in the alleyway, and decides in her head that she might be taking on a little bit too much. She calls Marlowe, the person that hired her for the case. Marlowe invites her to breakfast to talk it over. The next day, she gets ready to head off for her date. I really do love some slang terms. I would love to bring back. Like doll, oh my god, calling someone doll. Like Marlowe called Helen doll, and I don't know why, but it sets my heart aflutter. I wouldn't mind my husband calling me doll. Helen talks about how she's going to die in 3 days, and the mystery really pulls you in, but it doesn't outwardly say exactly why she's going to die in 3 days. Like, what pact did she make? What creature did she make a pact with? That she's going to die in 3 days. The answer might disappoint some people, but I mean, it kind of gives you hints. Anyway, chapter 3, Helen goes to this sapphic speakeasy to meet up with her girlfriend for their date, and the two of them talk about going to San Francisco because her girlfriend Edith has gotten a job opportunity to finally go. Helen obviously has trouble keeping a cap on her emotions because she knows she only has 3 days. And she still hasn't shared this information with her girlfriend. But she wants to live in the dream that they're going to go to San Francisco together. I am already just in love with this couple because we're not seeing the beginning of their relationship or the end. We're seeing them in the thick of it. I feel it's just very refreshing to see these two interact. And oh my goodness, who would have thought it? But it's not boring at all. Because a good relationship is not a perfect one. And it's not going to get boring. Because obviously Helen is hiding some things from Edith, and Edith might be hiding something from her as well. Only time will tell. Chapter 4, while walking back to Helena's apartment, Helena explains the case that she is thinking about dropping to Edith because it seems like it's going to be a very dangerous case. We get an interesting interaction that shows Edith has telepathy, which makes it seem like magic is out in the open. And I like when books do this in modern fantasy, because honestly, the trope of magic being hidden is just getting really tiresome, and I want to see more modern fantasies where magic is out in the open. We also get something that's really common in was common in the 1940s is sometimes they would skip the number 13 for a floor level because it was considered bad luck. And coincidentally, our main character, Helen, is on the 13th floor, or should I say 14th floor, since they skipped the number. I honestly just see the number 13 as a number. That's all there is to it. It's just a number. It's not bad luck to me. Of course, I also believe in the threefold rule. That's something I live by, but I'm also Wiccan, so I'm just a superstitious. So they get back to the apartment, and because they were tired, quote unquote, and there's actually not a lot of detail about the sexual act they do together, but there is this cute little line that just gave me a chuckle and I thought was sweet. The bed started to sing, and so did Edith, because she was a bit like music. Just so sweet. Chapter 5, it's the next day, and we get Helen waking up to Edith having her Disney princess moment. I was almost tempted to draw the main character and Edith as Disney princesses, but I didn't. I'm just starting out, not starting out in art, but I haven't been doing digital art for very long, and I just wanted to stick to something I was familiar with. Anyway, gonna leave that aside. And at some point in this chapter, she talks about her photography. I realized photography is her magic. It is like one of her main talents. And I actually quite like this. It's a really good mechanic. And a unique one. I don't think I've ever really seen a magic user using camera as their main technique, but I could be wrong. Anyway, she meets up with her client, Marlowe, to try to turn down the case and get paid for the pictures she took. But Marlowe gives her an offer that is too good. $1,000 and her soul for her to continue the case. Act 2, Chapter 1, Helen starts getting ready to work the case she is now on. With one scene, I'm getting the impression that our main character, Helen, is not just a lesbian, but she is bisexual, and I love to see it. Not gonna lie, being a bisexual myself, love a bisexual character. But I'm not gonna make any assumptions. Also, bisexuality wasn't really a defined thing at this time and point in the book. You were either one or the other. Or, not the book. This time and place. Chapter 2, Helen reads the newspaper about the White City vampire killer and his strings of killings. And it occurs to Helen that she has been duped into a demon turf war. Chapter 3, Helen ends up going back to Marlowe's place to confront her because she left out that she might be dealing with another demon. The absolute deceit and trickery behind this demon. Helen might be in way over her head. Even so, she is still taking this deal because she could possibly still have a life past 3 days. Who would give up an offer like that? Chapter 4. After confronting Marlowe, Helena goes back to her office and puts up a ton of wards to protect herself. And Edith, of course. Edith comes in and asks her what's going on, and Helen explains. Helen asks her to stay in the office for her own protection. She stays for a little to help with photos taken from the scene. I actually really love the dynamic between these two characters. It is kind of stereotypical. One character is a little bit more feminine and the other has more masculine characteristics. But Edith and Helen also still maintain having masculine and feminine moments because masculinity and femininity are not dictated by gender. And they're people too. There does not need to be a man or a woman. It is just two people trying to have a life together. Chapter 5. Helen and Edith work together to develop photos and do some other photo-y stuff that I guess I didn't bother to write in my notes exactly what they were doing, and I don't remember exactly what it was. Although I wouldn't mind getting into photography. Then Edith, after looking at one photo towards the end that she was working on, suddenly needs to go to her church and work. Helen is left puzzled over some glitch effects in the developed photos. The way Edith and Helen encourage each other is just so sweet. But her puzzling over the glitches kind of made me start to guess that maybe Helen might be with another demon, perhaps. Hopefully not so. Or they learn how to work it out. Because they are actually in a healthy relationship. And guess what? It is actually a pretty exciting relationship. Amazing! A healthy relationship can be exciting? No way! I'm baffled! Not being sarcastic at all. Chapter 6. Helen goes back to the crime scene to try to get some blood for a spell, and she runs into her brother, who offers at least some help. They also discuss what she did 10 years ago, when she made a pact with the devil. Then they get into a disagreement and he walks off. Knowledge is power and should be shared, not gate-kept, like the Brotherhood of the Compass is doing. Sometimes you'll do things for people you love, thinking it's for their own good. And we finally get to know what Helen did 10 years ago, which was Helen and her family got into a car accident 10 years ago. And she lost everyone in that car. Her brother and her parents. So she made a deal with the devil in order to save her brother, pulling him from heaven. Though I don't personally believe in heaven, it would really suck to get pulled from a perfect paradise. Yeah. But on the playing devil's advocate, it really sucks to lose a loved one. Anyway, Act 3, Chapter 1. Helen worries over Edith getting home on time when she gets a call from Edith telling her not to wait up. But she does because, of course, she's worried about her partner. Helen was not worried because she was jealous. She was worried about whether or not something had happened to Edith, which is refreshing and is a very good thing. This is a healthy relationship. And you come to care about this relationship. And it's not toxic. There's no accusations of cheating or anything. And I want to see more of these kind of relationship dynamics. Healthy relationships. Because they're actually exciting. Finally, she shows back up. But it's not actually Edith. It is a fallen angel possessing Edith. And this fallen angel explains that Edith has been a vessel for a very long time. And they also talk about how this fallen angel can help in the case. This writer obviously has a good relationship with her God, and that is awesome. Through this character, it explains that homosexuality is not a bad thing. The author has actually read the Bible and shows understanding of it. I have read the Bible myself, front to cover. Anyway, Chapter 2, after her angel uses magical powers on Helen, the two of them go to investigate a recent crime that was committed by the White City vampire. And once they are done, before they can leave, they get caught by the police, who don't question anything and just go guns a-blazing. I'm actually kind of jealous of the angel. Well, actually, no, I'm not jealous of I've been touched by an angel because I don't get hangovers. There is this mechanic that when I first read about it, I was kind of oddly disturbed by it. The angel can distribute like her possession powers out to birds. I don't know why, but I found it just kind of disturbing. Of course, it's going to grow on me, but when I first read about this, it disturbed me. It is also established that our antagonist is a woman. Our protagonist is a woman. It is a very sapphic book. Not complaining. I'm very happy with it, actually. It's also explained that angels do consensual possession, whereas demons do unconsensual possession. That is an interesting mechanic. Chapter 3, the angel saves the day with her angel healing powers yet again. They're about to make their way to report what has happened to another angel when the Brotherhood of the Compass show up and tell Helena just to back off. They report. She says, "Nah, I'm not backing off." And then they do their report. I liked that the writer decides to make the angel character androgynous by using they, them pronouns. Helena in this chapter is very uncomfortable in this church, and I can wholly relate to being uncomfortable in a church setting, maybe for different reasons, but even if someone reassures you that everyone is welcome, that is not the case. I have unfortunately had to deal with people hiding behind their religion in order to discriminate. And I think it's just better to look past our differences and just show each other understanding that not everybody's going to believe exactly what you believe. And that's okay. It's normal, actually. And just show people kindness and understanding. That's my only goal in life, is to show kindness and understanding. So when the Brotherhood of the Compass shows up, Ted, Helen's sister, is there, and he obviously still cares about Helen because he doesn't shy away from the fact that that is his sister. Last note about this chapter, it's a total random thought, but these angels possessing people, are they the biblically accurate angels? Because they're described as not, or their movements not quite being natural, like they're wearing clothes. You know what? I'm just going to make it my headcanon that they are wearing, or that they are biblically accurate angels, just because I find that funny. Anyway, Act 4, Chapter 1. They transport to where Helen first started this book, in the alleyway. They look up and down and realize that the culprit passed out on the street because they were possessed. So they decide to ask some people making their way to church because it's Sunday, and they get a lead, and Helen puts her foot down about transporting again. So they decide to drive to see Matilda, their next lead. And the dude that they stopped on the street, talk about toxic masculinity. The 1940s man at his best, just brimming with toxic masculinity. Of course, that's probably intentional. And yes, there is a type of healthy masculinity, the kind where you can also embrace your feminine side. Because femininity and masculinity don't have anything to do with gender. And the moment you start boxing it into gender is the moment it becomes toxic. Because there can be toxic femininity, in my opinion. As well, we need to stop putting ourselves in boxes. At the end of the day, we are all just human. Gay, straight, trans, cis, it doesn't matter, we're all just human. Although if those labels make you feel comfortable, that's good. I say continue to do it, I guess, as long as it's not hurting anybody. Chapter 2. They go to interview Matilda, who was at the crime scene the night it happened. And Matilda is just a lifeless husk. But they do get to meet Matilda's mother, who is obviously a clairvoyant without even knowing it. Them going to this loony bin reminds me that I'm thankful to be in the present and not the past. Because people were just dropped off and left there to rot while doctors were experimenting on them. Thank you, modern medicine. Because I would probably be in a loony bin right now because of not only my queerness, but also I have some mental illness, which really sucks, but thanks to modern medicine, I can go to or when I can afford it, I can go to therapy and get medication and all that good stuff. Chapter 3, Matilda begins to scream, so Helen and the angel decide to excuse themselves and snoop around a little bit. And while they're snooping around, Helen sees one of her friends in the loony bin. And she wasn't one of her that friend in particular is actually not mentally ill, she's just gay. But she was put there and just left, which is very disturbing. There's a patient that starts moving towards the angel possessing Edith for some odd reason. The angel might help her. And this person has the same blank stare that Matilda does. After leaving, the angel confirms that both girls in the loony bin were hosts to angels. Chapter 4. The angel explains the history of the angel's powers and goes over the Nephilim. In this context, they are children of angels and humans, and that is where magic comes from in this world. And they also discuss what the White City vampire is actually an angel and not a demon like everybody first thought. And they're using damned souls because they are not considered to be victims. But I mean, come on, they're still people. Just because their souls are damned, they're still people. Come on. It's also mentioned in this chapter that the reason most prayers don't get answered is because there's billions of other people making prayers as well, and most angels won't answer it because they're just not that interesting of prayers. And I mean, that's a very interesting way of looking at it. Chapter 5, Helena and the angel decide to make a stop so Helena can eat, and Edith comes back into her body. Helena and Edith have a conversation about or they just talk in the diner and just have a nice moment. Although Edith feels rightfully guilty about not telling Helena about the angel that possesses her. But Helena is understanding because she is also keeping something. Chapter 6. Helena and Edith go back to the apartment to get some rest. But unfortunately, Helena's brain is running like hamster, thinking about this case and how it's gotten way out of hand. Before she can finally fall asleep, she feels her wards break. And that someone is in the apartment. And that someone is Teddy, her younger brother. And I am wondering if Teddy is the evil angel. Act 5, Chapter 1, Teddy shows up to tell Helena, once again, to back off from the case. But Helena is not going to back off. And she also explains what happens to the vessels. And lets on that she knows a lot more than he does. The white vampire shows up. And guess who it is? It is Ted's business partner. I mean, there was quite a bit of foreshadowing, but I found it there was foreshadowing, but I got all excited anyway because it was such a plot twist. Helen thinks he's coming for her, but he is coming for Teddy, because Teddy is going to be the one to help the angels get back to heaven. Chapter 2. I knew the other angel was someone that you could not trust. I could see him being one of the villains a mile away. But I also have foresight, so I guess it could have been a plot twist for our characters. So they chase after the evil angel, and they come upon a ritual happening, and they start trying to get back Teddy. And the plan seems like it is not going to work out when when Helena decides to call for Marlowe to help her out and show that she found the White City vampire killer. And Marlowe goes and starts attacking the angels, being all epic and demony. There is a final showdown, and Edith sacrifices herself and ends up dying. Well, Helen, repeating the cycle, decides she doesn't want Edith to die. So, once again, she makes a deal with the devil. Not going to lie, when she did this, it actually kind of made me mad a little bit. Instead of just letting it go, she decides to revive Edith. But I guess I feel that frustration because I've lost family members. But I guess if you love people and you don't want to see them go, and you have the option, then you're going to do it. Chapter 3. Helena's happy with her decision. They get away, and Helena promises Edith the moon because she would give up her soul again if it meant having another 10 years with her. If she had it. And I just think this is such a sweet ending. And it's just all happy and good, and they're going to live the next 10 years of their life together. And my final thoughts, this book was amazing. If you like the Cliff Notes version of this book, you are going to like the actual book if you hadn't read it before watching this video. Definitely pick this book up. It was a roller coaster. It didn't pretend that there were no issues in the 1940s with being queer. There were a lot of twists, but they also didn't get too political. They just showed snippets. And there were a lot of twists and turns that kept me on my feet, and kept me on the edge. The characters were pretty fleshed out and three-dimensional, believable and witty. It was a really good read. I give this book a 5 out of 5. I might even have to look up more books from L Polk, because I really liked this book. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see any future videos, and leave a comment on what you would like me to review next, or discuss what we reviewed today. I hope you all have a fabulous day.